Hey everyone, how's it going? Ramon here, program manager for Dronecode Foundation. I want to introduce today Junwoo Hwang. He's an electrical engineer out of the Korea University. He's based in Seoul, and he's working right now in a double internship between the Dronecode Foundation and Altherian. He's based in Zurich. He's a total champ. He's been working with me and a couple of the dev team members and helping us with documentation, tutorials, and contributing to PX4. He's actually right now working on the PX4 Follow Me feature. He's making a few upgrades to that, and he's been fantastic. So I wanted to give him the spotlight today to introduce him because we're going to start publishing a lot more content together. And I thought, hey, why don't we just do this separate video and do a quick intro, and then it's not totally foreign to people when we start doing together things together. So here we go. People say hi to Junwoo. Hi, Junwoo.
Hello.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for doing this today. I know it's a bit
No
short
problem.
notice, but
No.
I think it's best that we get it out of the way sooner rather than later. And yeah, so you're studying electric engineering, is that right?
Right?
And you've been working with PX4 for quite a while.
Yes.
And what have you been doing with PX4?
Well, I started building drones actually in high school summer break. I got so bored, and I actually like kept going with that passion. And then in university, I actually had an internship at a company in South Korea where they used PX4. So after that, I've been quite involved in the ecosystem. So it's been around 2 years-ish, I guess.
Yeah, and I think you and I actually tweeted a project that you were working on at some point,
Right.
and I didn't even realize it was you until you started the internship. So can you talk about just a little bit about that project? Because I thought it was really cool.
Well, it was a little project that our friends did, and electrical engineering and mechanical engineering students gathered around to build this underwater torpedo, and no one knew how to use the software on it, so I put PX4 on top of it for the torpedo.
Nice. And where is that a school project?
That was a school project, yes.
Nice. So let's make sure you post something on Slack so that everyone can actually see it.
Sure.
All right. So you and I are working on different projects right now, and I'm really excited because you have so much energy and you're putting so much time in it. You're actually completing things much faster than we thought it was feasible for someone to do, and we're really happy that. Thank you for being such an awesome engineer. And you were initially thinking, actually in working at ATH, right? So you moved from Seoul to Zurich to do
exchange.
work on a student exchange. Sorry, that word escaped my mouth. And you were for a year at ETH, right?
For actually half a year.
Half a year. All right. So I kind of got it right.
Yeah.
And then you got, did you work with PX4 at ETH? Did you do any robotics work?
Yes, but yeah, I did some courses on robotics, but none was on PX4, but yes, it had some concepts.
Awesome. Since when have you actually worked in open source?
Oh, since the first time I built my drone. So it was my high school freshman year. And since then, I mean, yeah, PX4, and I actually didn't start with PX4. It was like a smaller project of flight control software. It was still drones, but it was called iNav and pretty small. And now PX4 is much bigger, so I've been taking some steps in open source projects.
And how do you like PX4? Is it working fine with you?
Well, as many of you would probably know, PX4 is not for like just out of the box experience. It is very custom and you can configure anything you want. So it's very developer focused, and I think that aim is very applied well in this code base. And so it's a very different experience from what I did back in high school, just throwing in the user like super simple flight controller. It's a completely different category, I think.
Yeah, and when like working with PX4 to like contribute a feature, does that same mindset of having PX4 being this configurable thing, has that play
Mhm.
a role in how you actually write stuff? Let's say the follow me
Mhm.
operates that you're doing.
So your question
Uh,
is, does that take into account like the configurability?
yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, for example, if you just buy a commercial drone like DJI, their follow me works fine, but you know, you cannot configure anything about it. And in PX4, like literally working with developers on developing this feature from scratch. And so there's a lot of flexibility, and yeah, it's up to developers like how to use it and what to improve, and it's very cool.
nice. And we want to actually talk about the blog posts and guides that you're going to start publishing soon.
Right, right.
And it might happen sooner than everyone thinks.
Mhm.
And we were discussing this before we jump in the call, that we're going to start publishing soon, and that you have a list of topics that you pre-selected and
Right.
are generally things that you see people always have questions in PX4, and or things that you in your journey and as a developer in PX4 have had
Mhm.
your questions and you
Mhm.
had to dig a lot to get answers for them. And
Right.
the good news is that you found the answers, and, but the bad, not, I don't know if it's a bad, I should say it's a bad thing, but
Yeah.
uh, the thing that we're trying to solve here is like to make
Mhm.
sure everyone actually gets access to those same learnings that you had, the experience
Right.
from actually taking a deep dive into the code base and
Exactly.
taking a deep dive into
Yeah.
docs, and
Mhm.
making that more accessible for everyone in the
Mhm.
community. So
Yes.
the very first topic that you're going to be talking about is actually parameters, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So what do you have in mind for us?
Well, yeah, I chose parameter because it's the most basic and fundamental concept in PX4, and it's really cool how they work internally. And so I wanted to tell why it's needed, how it's used, and what are the features of this parameter interface and everything. And I will also do a separate, more in-depth blog post, a second blog post for developers who are more interested in how it actually works, like down to the, and basically I'm going to explain the most deep, I mean, the most fundamental stuff. And so that you wouldn't have any questions basically after this blog post on how it works. So you'll have a really like deep understanding on how it works.
Nice, nice. And I know that myself, like by reading the draft, because I got access to the draft, early draft,
Mhm.
I feel lucky. Yeah, there's a lot of things that actually I don't think that I fully understood how they worked internally. So thanks for
Oh, really?
writing that. And you also already have a few topics that in your queue that you want to jump into. And I actually contributed one to the topic suggestions.
Mhm.
And I think it would be really powerful if we actually publish the list of things that you want to write about, and
Mhm.
ask the community if they have any suggestions for any new topics.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I had this idea of launching this survey and say, hey, what topics would
Mhm.
you like to have us write about? And
Right.
maybe we can start having a queue together,
Mhm.
um, provided that we have the time to publish and that you have the time to write them. And I
Definitely.
think it will be really cool. So
Mhm.
we'll be publishing the list in Slack and the PX4 Slack,
Mhm.
and we're publishing the survey as well. And actually, let's do it on the forums. Let's publish on the forums. We'll share the link in
Sure.
Slack so that everyone has a
Mhm.
chance to um, have voice their feedback.
Mhm.
And then the very first blog post we're gonna try to get out this week.
Yes.
And as soon as that's published, we'll make sure to distribute that to the community. We're
Mhm.
really excited to have you here, Jingwu. Any last words you want to say?
Well, I've been the PX4 user for quite a while, and I know your struggles and like what's good about PX4, what's bad about PX4. I want to improve everything that I have noticed throughout these years during this internship, and I'm always open to feedback. So anytime you can ping me on Slack, I'll be open to discussing any sort of improvement that you want to work on. I'll try to do my best to improve the PX4 ecosystem.
Awesome. That's beautiful. And community, you can find you on the forums and GitHub or Slack. I think your username is Junwoo0914, right?
091400.
Yeah. All right. So you heard it. And thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Junwoo, for being here. Stay tuned for all
Thank
the
you.
amazing content that we're going to start publishing together. All right. Bye.
Bye bye, everyone.